Frank Harris, UTSA's quarterback who's been in college for a decade plus. Is he going to play in this football game? Missed last week's game against Army with injury. What's ESPN saying about this UTSA football game? And what's this volunteer season look like now following the loss to Florida? A lot to get into here on a Thursday. Locked on Vols.
You are Locked on Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. It's Locked on Vols with your team every single day. I'm your host, Eric Kane. Shout out every dayers for making Locked on Vols your first listen. We are almost to the weekend, a chance to see more Tennessee football and a chance to see better Tennessee football following what happened in Gainesville last weekend, of course. This episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase the Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. We got a fun show coming up. Going to give you an update on what we know about quarterback from UTSA, Frank Harris, and then a couple segments with Boogie Bentley of the Talkin' Vols network. We kind of phrased our crossovers Locked on Talkin' Vols, and that's every single week right here during football season. Boogie and I get into a lot of stuff, talking about the red flags from Florida, the season outlooks now, what we want to see from the UTSA game, the key issues, Joe Milton, Nico Imaliava. We get into a lot of that over the course of segments 2 and 3, so I encourage you to check that out. But here in segment 1, a couple of notes I just want to pass along. This is from Jeff Traylor. He's the head football coach of UTSA, and he essentially earlier this week was asked about his quarterback, Frank Harris, and an injury update on his starting quarterback. And he wouldn't provide an awful lot. He just said he's day-to-day with turf toe. Turf toe, I don't know how many of you guys watching and listening have had turf toe. It is an injury that lingers for a long time, and one of those things that truly doesn't get better until you get off it and you let it rest. It will linger with him, whoever has turf toe, if it's Frank Harris or anybody else, it will linger with them throughout the season. So it's about pain management, pain tolerance. Jalen Wright, his freshman year back in 2021, he had turf toe. That's something he dealt with all season long. So I hate that for Frank Harris. I really do. It caused him to miss the loss to Army last week, and his status is very day-to-day with turf toe. He said that to actually ESPN's Pete Thamel Monday night earlier this week. So if it's not Frank Harris, it's going to be Eddie Lee Marburger once again. And Eddie Lee Marburger played well stat-wise in the loss to Army. It was his first career start. 17 of 26 through the air, completed 65% of his passes, 239 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was playing in place of Frank Harris. And Frank Harris so far in 2 games this year, not off to the best start that he's had throughout his career. 44-73, completing passes at 60%, 423 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. All 3 of those picks came in the Houston loss earlier in week 1 of this season. A lot of you guys are probably saying Frank Harris. I probably know that name. Where do I know that name from? Well, I've mentioned him a couple of times, but Frank Harris has literally been in college. This is his 7th year. He has thrown for last year, and we'll talk more about this tomorrow on the show when we preview UTSA. But last year, UTSA had one of the best offenses in the country. It was top 15 in the nation. Tennessee was number 1, but UTSA, I believe, was number 14. And it's won back-to-back Conference USA championships. It's now in the the American Athletic Conference, the AAC. But it's a very successful program. And last year, Frank Harris, a quarterback for UTSA, threw for 4,063 yards, 32 touchdowns. Not bad. This is his 7th year. And in his career, he has thrown for over 9,000 yards, 76 touchdowns. He's ran for over 1,800 yards with 24 touchdowns. So he has accumulated at least 100 touchdowns total in his career. That is not bad. So he's an experienced guy. He knows the offense. He's been very successful, but he's day-to-day. He's got an injury. And, of course, I think Tennessee's going to win this game no matter what. It's a 20-point favorite. Earlier in the week, I believe FanDuel had Tennessee, I want to say, at 20.5. Anyway, we'll check when we go to do the show tomorrow. which you can check today over at the FanDuel Sportsbook app. But he's a guy that's been there, done that. And Tennessee's going to win this football game, but it will have an easier opportunity, in my opinion, if your backup quarterback Eddie Lee Marburger's playing, even though he played well against Army last week. So we'll keep tabs on that. I'll do some digging before tomorrow's show and see if we have another update on the quarterback and Frank Harris. But that's their guy. Even though he's not been off to the hottest of starts like he has throughout his career, he's still their guy, and they need him in that lineup. ESPN's FPI prediction for Tennessee and UTSA this week. I just thought I'd get this out there because this is something I haven't mentioned week to week, and I usually do, but I haven't mentioned the first 3 weeks of the season. The FBI believes that Tennessee will come out on top in week 4, giving the Volunteers an 86.4% chance of winning. Again, the odds are ever in your favor, right? And that's expected. UTA's odds of pulling off the upset are just at 13.6. Tennessee, of course, lost to Florida, remained in the top 25 in the AP and the coaches. The only top 25 that Tennessee fell out of this week. And, I didn't mention on yesterday's show, but if you're watching on YouTube, I'll flash it up here. It's the Locked On Top 25 poll, and me and my colleagues vote on it every single week. And I'll say this for this week: Tennessee doesn't deserve to be in the top 25, so I don't really have that big of an issue. I mean, Tennessee doesn't deserve to be in the top 25 the way it played. But again, it's last week Tennessee was still in the top 10 in one poll and number 11 in the other poll, and Tennessee was like 14 or 15 in the Locked On poll. My colleagues, when one team loses, they write them off and kill them off forever, and I think that's hilarious. LSU's at number 16 in this poll. After the loss to Florida State, LSU went from like number 3 or 4 all the way down to like 20 or something. So again, my colleagues at Locked On, pretty much when a team loses, it's dead to them. They just get rid of it. So I just think that's kind of funny. Tennessee's still ranked in the AP top 25 and the coaches poll, but not in the Locked On Top 25 poll. Again, though, I don't have a big issue with that because Tennessee sucked and doesn't deserve to be ranked right now. That's for sure. So kickoff's going to be at 4 o'clock. We'll see about Frank Harris and UTSA. We'll have more on the Roadrunners, what this game means for the University of Tennessee, and a whole lot more on Friday's show. But when we come back, 2 segments with Boogie Bentley, where we have a really, really good conversation. We talk about a lot of things going on with the University of Tennessee right now. You don't want to miss it. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. I want to tell you about our friends over at Jace Medical. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jace Medical offers the Jace Case. The Jace Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you the peace of mind so that you're not just hoping that you have access to the medication during an emergency. Jace Medical makes sure that you have medication on hand. Jace Medical is simple. They handle everything from online evaluations to licensed pharmacy medication delivery, ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared. Save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical Plus, an additional $20 off by using the promo code Locked On at checkout. That's at JaceMedical.com. That's Jace Medical, JASE Medical.com. Promo code Locked On for $20 off your purchase. It is Thursday ahead of UTSA, the Roadrunners. So let's get in Boogie Bentley of the Talkin' Vols Network. A little crossover, Locked On Talkin' Vols. Boogie, it's been a week, man. Have you been dealing with all of your content creations? How has your audience kind of been dealing with, let's call it what it was. I mean, that was a massacre on Saturday. It was bad.
I think you said it when you came on the channel Monday, right? This is way more fun when Tennessee is winning. Last season was the most fun I've ever had creating content on YouTube. Just a fun journey. And look, we've been asking questions for over a week. We asked questions coming out of that Austin Peay game. Some people don't want to hear it. Some people just want to hear all sunshine and rainbows. And then other people think, we said it right before we hit record, the sky is falling, it's doom and gloom, it's time to fire Josh Heupel, bench Joe Milton, Joey Halsley can't cut it, Tim Banks is terrible, Willie Martinez didn't get an extension for a reason. The truth always lies somewhere in the middle. So that's what I'm trying to do this week. Let's play both sides of the fence, and let's find out where this football team's at. And we're going to find out on Saturday. I think who in the world thought UTSA was going to be such a big game, but it's an opportunity for Tennessee to bounce back and get this thing going back in the right direction.
Yeah, we'll talk more about UTSA in the second segment here in segment 3 because they're down a little bit. That game kind of, all offseason, it's like, oh, watch out for UTSA. That could be, a big-time non-conference matchup. And again, I'm not trying to diminish that now, but, I mean, they've lacked the firepower so far through 3 games. I think that's pretty evident, but we'll get into that in a moment. Somebody asked this on the Monday Night Chat, and I thought it was a good question. If you're kind of positioning these position groups, no pun intended, in terms of most concerning from Saturday, kind of what would it be? Quarterback, wide receivers, offensive line, defensive line, linebackers.
It's the offensive line, hands down,
Yeah.
and that's why I get it. I understand the Nico chatter. I get it. We got the number 1 player in the country sitting on the bench. That's going to create a conversation. But Tennessee struggled to run the football against the Gators when they had the right matchup. Like, they had the picture-perfect matchup to run the football, and they struggled. And, look, I get it. You're missing your starting center in Cooper Mays. When's he coming back? I have no idea. Week by week, right? Every week he's out there dressed, ready to go, but he doesn't go. Is it going to be mid-October at this point? I don't know. But you're without Gerald Mincey, so you're missing 2 linemen. Tennessee struggled up front. Not only that, but protecting Joe Milton at times, they were just not very good. And I think the SEC, it starts with the line of scrimmage. You have to be better there. And I get it. Joe Milton is playing good. He's playing efficient. He's not going out and taking over a game, right? So I understand the Nico talk, the Nico chatter, but for me, I'm grading Joe on a week-by-week basis. Joe played good football against Florida. I really think that he played a good game. On the flip side of that, it's just an interesting point that one of the people on our channel made going into the Florida game was that Florida likes to use a lot of motion, a lot of misdirection, and you've got to have good eye discipline. And I was laughing because, again, I'm always listening to you guys while I'm working, and Hubs said, I hate that word. I hate the words eye discipline. But this guy brought up that point going into the Florida game that it was a concern. And we talked about the linebacker room and how much better they were. We missed Keenan Peely on Saturday. We missed him. And Elijah Herring got lost a couple of times, got to tackle better. The article you put out right after the game, two out of 3 games, you got 10 or more missed tackles. That's just unacceptable. I would have been on the practice field on Monday just hitting each other all day long. Not nonstop, just physicality. But, yeah, number 1 concern for me has got to be the offensive line.
Like, you sit there and you look at all this, and I've heard of it a little bit as the week's gone on, but I mean, this is just week 3. This is just the first loss of the season. Hopefully there's not many more, but I mean, this is loss number 1. The sky is falling. The locker room's gone. There's no culture. Fire everybody. Like, I get it. I get the frustrations, but people are like, this is JG all over again. This is JG all over again. And I want to very much pull that emergency brake if I can. All right. If this goes on for a couple of weeks and the offense is still not operating where it needs to be, then sure, a change needs to be made, in my opinion. I'm just telling you right now, a change is not happening right now. Now, This conversation could be different next week or the next week, but right now it's not happening. And Joey Halsey said it, Josh Heupel said it. When I've watched, and I'm not a quarterback guru at all, but I've kind of acknowledged, he's making the right decisions. JG was putting the ball in harm's way repeatedly, and they just didn't have anybody else they had faith in at all. I'm not saying that's the case with Nico, but Joe Milton is putting the ball in the right windows, making the right decisions. It's just, at the end of the day, Boogie, I've been harping on this all week long. The operation sucks. If you're Tennessee, I'm going to say that I'm beating this drum here this week. If you're Tennessee, you are tempo. Right now, you're not tempo Tennessee. You ran 65 and 63 plays each of the past 2 weeks. And if you're not having tempo Tennessee, what are you right now? You're an offense with a shitty offensive line and an average quarterback right now, and that's not good enough.
Yeah, I think that's the key, an average quarterback. And that's why, let me talk out of both sides of my mouth here.
And please do.
Either both groups are going to love me or both groups are going to hate me. Let's be honest. They're going to hate me. That's what they do.
Yeah.
It's the internet, right? But you got an average quarterback. Is Nico a gamer? Because I think Hendon Hooker was a gamer. He's a guy that's going to go out and he's going to play backyard football, right? He's going to make plays when there's not something there. I don't know that Joe's going to do that. I don't know that Joe is going to go out and just make a big-time play and win a game. I mean, his numbers against Florida, good numbers, 20 of 34, 287, 2 touchdowns. Of course, he had the interception, but then you look at that interception. You got a wide receiver wide open across the middle of the field. What happens if he connects on that? Now you're talking 300 plus, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Are we still sitting here talking about Nico? But you talk about, the tempo and the pace of play. How much of that is on Joe? How much of it is on the center position, right?
I think some of that, sorry to cut you off, I think some of that's on Joe. He is the quarterback. So he is not absent of blame in all this. I'm going to make that perfectly clear. I think the pre-snap penalties are killers. it's loud, but like at the end of the day, you have got to communicate to your offensive lineman. I also think it's on the coaching and on the sideline. What are we doing? Communicate better. And sometimes, Brent Hubb said this the other day, like sometimes you just got to line up and go. None of this line up, see what Florida's in, check with me. Like, dude, the play clock's running down, just go. So I truly do believe it's some on the offensive line. Cooper not being in there for sure. I think it's on some coaching, and I think it's on Joe. That's why I'm saying he's the quarterback. At the end of the day, it's his responsibility. Everybody's looking at him, but it is the whole operation, and it's just got to get better.
Yeah, but would it get better with Nico, right? You know, we all speculate, and people, I love the conversation of Nico's ready, Nico's not ready. How do you know? How do you know? How would I know? How does anybody know? The coach, you got to trust Josh Heupel and this coaching staff. You have to trust that they know what's best for this football team. Are they protecting Nico at this point? They don't want to throw him out there until he is actually ready to go play SEC football. You don't want to ruin a kid. Now, a lot of people say that are in my ear, that are in my corner, that are in Nico's corner, that have a good relationship with some people around Nico that tell me he's not that type of kid. He's not the type of kid that's going to fold. You're not going to impact him. He is Mr. Cool, Mr. Calm, Mr. Collected. He is a special type of talent. But also I go back to the confidence in Joe Milton. How much confidence does his coaching staff really have in Joe? And man, I could go all over the place with this thing. Who thought a year ago that we were going to be questioning this coaching staff on both sides of the ball? But that's where we're at. That's what happens when you lose. When you lose, here comes the outside noise, and that's why I think Saturday, not to bury the lead and jump into segment 3 here, Saturday's so important because you've got to respond. Adversity has hit. It hit against Austin Peay. You laid an egg against Florida. Now your back's against the wall, and you better come out and respond and answer the call on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I get the frustrations. People want people will pick apart a loss just completely. I mean, sometimes you win, you're gonna pick apart a win too. But I mean, people just want to be angry, and this time, rightfully so. There's a lot to be angry about, so I get it. I understand it. I mean, going on the GQ there Saturday night and just people just want somebody to talk to, and then it's just like you're a human pinata, right? They're just taking a baseball bat, just hitting you down. It's your fault. You lied. Your sources suck. Okay.
You had a narrative going into the season. The media has been feeding us all these lies that made us believe this team was good.
And then you want to be like, but guys, I thought we made up the narrative that the offensive line has issues. I thought we made that up. It's like
you can't win. You can't win.
But I get the frustrations because that was so bad. So quickly here before we get into segment 3, I do just want to ask you, and we can expand on this in segment 3, but has your outlook on this season totally changed after what you saw at Florida?
My outlook's the red flags went up against Austin Peay, right? The red flags went up, but you always make excuses. Well, it was Austin Peay. They overlooked. They were looking ahead, yada, yada, yada. You make excuses for that lack of execution against a very terrible opponent. Glorified scrimmage. Hey, look me in the eye. That was a glorified scrimmage. You know it. I know it. So stop freaking out. It was Tennessee should have blown them out. That's when the red flags started going up. Then you go down there and just, come on, man. The comments from Aaron Beasley. How is that not pissing you off? That question, people are speculating. Wasn't it Ben that asked it? Didn't Ben ask the question? Because somebody said that reporter trapped him. I'm just laughing.
No, he didn't. It was a straightforward question. And I'm sure you saw on the GQ, they were all like, what did he mean by this? What do you mean by that? I was like, I'll check on it. Calm down. And I checked on it. And from what I was told is he was half paying attention and didn't listen to the question and just talked, and he wishes he could have had that back. He was not trying to throw anybody in the bus. And then everybody's like, oh, BS, what are you peddling? I'm like, I was following up like you wanted me to.
Ben asked a question about undisciplined football. Are you surprised coming out of fall camp that you're playing undisciplined football? He heard the question. He looked at the ground. He contemplated how to answer, and then he said, no, sir, it's not a surprise. He knew exactly what he was saying, and that is a concern about Tim Banks and the leadership, and that's a huge question. That's a huge talking point all week, leadership. And I'm not just looking at coaches. I'm looking for a leader on the field, on both sides of the ball. Because to me, Aaron Beasley, you're a senior. If you see a lack of discipline, get in somebody's face. Give me an Al Wilson on this football team. Get in a fist fight. Get pissed off if people aren't doing what they're supposed to do. But, man, how could you not be concerned hearing that?
We got more coming up here on this edition of Locked On Vols. More with Boogie Bentley. We'll go ahead and look at UTSA, more of the season as a whole. Tennessee now 2-1, 0-1 in SEC play. And the first – you got to get back on track against UTSA, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be a long, week and a half until it's South Carolina, and then until it's A&M in Florida, or excuse me, Alabama. You got a lot to prove, that is for sure. Excuse me, and we'll continue to do that right here on Locked On Vols. Hey, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when they play a $5 bet. That is $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's not bad, right? If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on that action. This app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app, it's so easy to use, a wide range of betting options that include spreads, player props, the totals, you can get that over, that under, and a whole lot more. I encourage you, if you're new and you kind of want to try some things out, the player props are super fun, okay? It's like X player, say for the NFL, say Ryan, I'm a Titans fan, so let's say Ryan Tannehill, 35 yards passing, right? Because he's not very good and Tennessee's offense sucks. Now, let's say Ryan Tannehill, 220 yards passing, over, under. Ryan Tannehill, 0.5 interceptions. So essentially saying, is he going to throw a pick or not? Over, under. The individual player props are super fun to play if you're brand new at FanDuel Sportsbook. I encourage you to do that today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Continuing on here on this Thursday edition of Locked On Vols, I am Eric Kane. My friend Boogie Bentley of the Talkin' Vols Network is joining us here today. A little crossover as we do every single week right here during football season. Boogie, I asked you about if your outlook has changed at all following the Florida loss. UTSA this weekend, it's a team that can score. It's been back-to-back Conference USA champions, now in the AAC. Frank Harris, the 12th-year quarterback, we'll see if he plays. What do you need to see? What are you expecting from Tennessee this Saturday against UTSA?
Well, you look at the line, and Tennessee's favored by, 20, I think? 20.5, somewhere around in there. ESPN, FBI through the roof for Tennessee. You got to bounce back, man. You got to respond. Leadership, dominance. I want to see physicality. I want to see that offensive line come back and run the football. That's a big red flag, right? We saw Tennessee start the season running the football. They ran physical. They played physical. How much of that is because you missed Gerald Mincey on Saturday? Did that play an impact in the run game at all? I don't know. I just want to see them get back to who Tennessee is. This game is not about UTSA. I'm not going to do some deep dive and look at who they are and what they bring. Again, you mentioned Harris. What is he day to day? Do you think he's going to play? I don't know. I don't think he's going to play.
I mean, if he's got turf toe, I would imagine not.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play. But Tennessee just needs to get back to being Tennessee. I want to see him take more shots down the field. Tackling is such a huge concern to me. What is the deal with Kamal Hadden? What's the deal with Kamal Hadden? Come on, wrap up. Knees to nuts. Head up, ass down. That's what Coach Jay says on our channel. Go play physical football. Tennessee just needs to be Tennessee, man. They need to get back to tempo, like you said. That's a big problem. There's so many little things. Just take care of business. To me, you talked about the outlook on the season, and has that changed? And I'm just waiting. I'm waiting because I think if you go out and you handle UTSA and you go out and you take care of business against South Carolina, like do you need a reason? Do you need me to give you a pep talk about why this South Carolina game is so big? If everybody in that locker room doesn't have revenge on their mind, if Josh Heupel doesn't want to go put a beating on Shane Beamer, then this football team's lost. I think they've got every reason in the world to get up for this week because the noise is there. They hear the noise, right? Yeah. They hear it. They hear the buzz. They hear the talks, the lack of leadership. They hear all that. Now let's have that us against the world mentality. Go out and take care of UTSA. Go out and take care of South Carolina. And I think maybe you can create a little momentum to get back on track to go win 9 games. But look, we know the back half of this schedule is brutal. It is a gauntlet. It is murderer's row. But I think you can create a little momentum, right? Look at Florida. Look at Florida. We all thought Tennessee was going to cruise through this game. Why? Because the way they played against Utah. They're not letting that Utah game define them. Tennessee doesn't need to let this first start of the season define them. They need to respond and answer the call coming up on Saturday.
I just think the thing that hurts the most if you're a Tennessee fan, Florida's not good. Still not good.
No.
And I'm sure you're the same way. Florida fans jumping in the comment section here on YouTube saying, oh, Florida's not good. I stand by that. Florida whipped Tennessee's tail. What's it say about Tennessee right now? Florida's not a good football team.
That's what the Florida fans keep saying to me. What does it say about Tennessee? It says that they got big-time problems, and they better fix it. You better get it fixed, or we could be looking at a very ugly season, and then the noise is going to only get louder. Can you hold on to the recruiting class? There are so many problems in 2023. College football in 2023 is so different than it used to be. You go out and you struggle, and you lose the locker room, and I'm not putting it out there that that Josh Heupel has lost this locker room, there are so many red flags. There are so many things, right? Going back to the Aaron Beasley comments, the way the Gerald Mincey thing was handled, and I know that's the way it gets handled all over the country. You hope that you can just quietly slide through that game and nobody notices, but you guys in the media aren't going to let Gerald Mincey sit out on offense and not start going to Google and working your magic and figuring it out. Joshua Joseph, why didn't he play a snap? Is there something there? Danico Slaughter, that's a little fishy. Dylan Sampson going to Instagram, Cage Cheetah, the post on Instagram about Nico needing a shot, and you've got players on this football team liking that stuff. That is not a good look. So are there locker room issues? I don't know. Could there be? Winning cures everything. Go out and win the football game on Saturday and then move on to South Carolina.
Yeah, the Mincy thing, I mean, Josh Heupel handled that about as poorly as possible. Like, help yourself out. That's one thing. Josh Heupel's done so many good things while being here at Tennessee. The injury, how you talk about injuries. I mean, the Cooper Mace thing last Thursday, it's like I was sitting there and I'm like, what are you doing? I know he's not going to play a lot. Like what are you doing? So off script from his normal, we'll see at the end of the week. That the Gerald Mincey thing, it's like, okay, well, we asked you about it. Just tell us the truth, or tell us, like, you're getting coached on what to say. You know we're going to ask that question. It's like, that's the best you got? I mean, that was just not very good. Slaughter is hurt. Can tell you that 100%. He's hurt. Sampson, I don't know why he didn't play.
Joseph.
The Joshua Joseph thing, like, you got, I'm not laughing, it's not funny for him. I mean, you got players, I'm not saying this exactly happened, but like players get in the doghouse with Rodney Garner all the time. That could have been just like he did something wrong in practice on Tuesday. I'm not going to play him Saturday. Yeah, that's just like, that's how Rodney operates. So we'll see what happens. I know we got to go here in a second, but you brought up Kamal Hadden a little while ago. And like, Tennessee fans have been like, if Five's out there, I'm done, for like a year and a half now. And I get it. He's going to play because, Slaughter's hurt, for who knows how long. I don't know. We'll see. Ricky Gibson, it was great to see him out there. He's a freshman. He made some mistakes. Not anything to cost you, but he made some mistakes. It's part of it. Gabe Judy Lawley's going to play. Warren Burrell, how much can you trust Warren Burrell right now? I don't know. So my point is, Kamal Hadden's still gonna play, and like, you just hope that these guys can minimize some of those snaps, and so he's not getting 60 snaps a game, because that type of effort. I mean, that ETN run, and there was a missed tackle from Wesley Walker on that play. I understand that. I mean, it was, but I mean that not wrapping up and chest bumping or whatever. I mean, the hell are you doing, man? That is so bad. And I said this, Boogie. I don't know if you remember. He did the same thing, not exact same thing, but he did the same thing against Ricky Pearsall in Knoxville last year. He didn't wrap up, and he scored a touchdown. It's like, when are you going to learn?
The more you watch that clip, the worse it gets. Yeah. So bad that people are out there saying that he did it on purpose, that he missed a tackle on purpose so that Florida could go. I don't believe that. But the more you watch it, the worse it looks. It looks awful. But here's the thing. These coaches get paid millions of dollars, right? Millions of dollars. Do you really think that they're going to trot somebody out there that they don't think gives Tennessee the best chance to win? It's just, and I know guys sound like Butch Jones, sound like Jeremy Pruitt. Well, he gives us the best chance to win. It's like, come on, man. Like they're trying to go win football games, and it's just, again, it's like a Florida fan. Well, what does that say about Tennessee? Well, what does that say about the backups? They're not ready. It's the same conversation with the young freshman corners. I think you got some good corners, right? Are they ready? I don't know that they're ready for SEC play, and that's what Willie Martinez is paid millions of dollars to do. And I know people don't like Willie Martinez. It is what it is, man. We hoped, right? We hoped. We speculate. We talk all offseason about how, man, this secondary, hopefully they can take a step. Can they take a step? Can they take a step? No, they can't. They can't. That's the answer. Through 3 weeks, they've shown me that they can't. So they got a couple of days here to get it figured out before UTSA.
Last thing, I've been preaching. I've been going to church. I came in Monday morning. I said, let's go to church. Let's talk about it. It was so bad in so many different areas, so I get it. It feels like the world is it's just falling. Everything sucks. I get it. But, like, my goodness, it is just week 3. So that you can look at it two ways. Like, this thing's going to continue to get bad. It's going to be a horrible season based on the way you played. Or Tennessee just played so bad. I was DMing a listener the other day, and I'm just like, this, we're talking about Joe, and I was like, this was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong, and then Joe was wrong. Like, point of the fact of the matter is, this didn't happen, this didn't happen, this didn't happen, this didn't happen. It's going to be a long year if you don't correct some of those things. So you can look at it that way, like two ways. It can be a long year, or Tennessee corrects some things, and it bad loss, but it's week 3. and you move on and you win games and you improve as the year goes on. And sure, you might not win 10 or 11 games. You might win 9 games, whatever. That's still a good year. I said before the season, if Tennessee wins 9 games, Tennessee's back.
Yes.
So I choose to look at it that way. But the more and more you go back and rewatch that Florida game, and it's bad, I get it. But I just think that it's so early in the season to where it's too early to be like, oh, season's over, fire everybody sucks. That's just me. Maybe I'm glass half full guy, which typically I'm not. But maybe that's just the way I look at things. I don't know.
No, you said it on my channel Monday. There's a lot of football left to play. We got a lot of football to play, and that's why can you create some momentum? You go beat UTSA, you find a way to beat South Carolina, then guess what? All of a sudden, we're saying that Texas A&M game, how important it is. This can get the season back on track. You go find a way to win that Texas A&M game, all of a sudden you're 5-1 halfway through the year, and you got some big football games coming up. Let me tell you something. You go win, all this disappears. It all disappears. And I know people hate the negativity. Oh, you're a negaball. I'm just calling what I saw on Saturday against the Gators. It was ugly football, and it was ugly a week ago against Austin Peay too. So shoot straight, call a spade, and let the chips fall where they may.
Boogie, appreciate it as always, man. You went live on their channel yesterday. When are you going live again? And I'm sure you'll be live for a post-game show, right?
We're going to be live Friday, tomorrow morning. I think this is going up on Thursday. We're going to be live Friday morning, 9:30 a.m. Come have a cup of coffee. We'll get you ready for that UTSA game. And then Saturday, we're going to do a tailgate show an hour before kickoff. That's where the listeners of our channel get to come on, hang out. See, you said you were having church, but as you can see, my shirt says we have a cult. Talking Vols Network is a cult, so you can come be a part of the cult. We will drink the Kool-Aid an hour before kickoff, and then we'll be live immediately following the game as well, man. Come hang out for the fans, by the fans, the voice of the common man, the voice of the voiceless. You can love me, you can hate me, but you guys are talking about me, so we'll see what happens on Saturday.
Literally, I was gonna call you guys a cult earlier, when I said audience, but I didn't want to be disrespectful. And then I look at your shirt, and
they made me create this shirt. I said we're a family, and they said we're actually kind of a cult. All right, boys, we're a cult now. Come join the cult. Come drink the Kool-Aid. Put your hand up to the monitor.
Talking Vols Network, you can always be entertained and learn something and hang out with Boogie and them right after you check out Locked On Vols. Boogie, appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
Always a good time, buddy.
All right, that is Boogie Bentley. Go and subscribe to his channel. They got over 22 or 3 or 4, I don't know. They got a lot of 1,000 subscribers there over on the YouTube channel. We're about to pass 9K, so appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Thanks so much for listening, making Locked On Vols your first listen. Everydayers, shout out. Couldn't do this show without you. Tomorrow's show, we'll hear from Josh Heupel, what he has to say to conclude the week on a Thursday morning press conference. We'll dive into UTSA. Who is UTSA? Who are the players to look out for? And what are my 5 keys, the Caner keys, that we've got to see from Tennessee in a bounce-back game at Neyland Stadium? That is your Friday show. Appreciate you guys as always. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, everybody.